Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Expendable Show. I'm your host, The Expendable. So let's get down to business. If you like my show, like, subscribe, and ding the bell. Let's try to have a good time today amongst the insanity that's happened over the last few days. Just want to make a little announcement. So I just finished last night. I was asked to provide my thoughts on the money getting pulled back from the UN that would get delegated towards potentially Afghanistan / Taliban funding. We'll say that. So I was asked by a media outlet in Pakistan to give my take on that. So I submitted a little report of what I thought about that. So I'm waiting on that to become published so I can share it on all my social media so everybody can see how much of an idiot I am. So there's a lot of stuff to get through today, so we're going to get right into it. So we have the Washington, D.C. tragedy, and we're going to go over it. And I want to remind everybody that there's still don't understand why my mic switched over, but we're going to get right into it. Washington, D.C. tragedy. They're saying 64, 67. I've seen two different numbers on that, so I'm not quite sure exactly what the number is. But we'll just go down through the situation and just get some of the facts that are currently published out there. So American Airlines plane and an Army helicopter, which was a Black Hawk, as everybody knows, it collided around 9 p.m. on Wednesday near the Reagan National Airport outside of Washington, D.C. So they're saying in this report that I watched I didn't watch it, but I pulled it off the internet. But they're saying 67 on board. I guess so. They're adding 67 total with the three military personnel that were on the Black Hawk. So there's 67 total, 64 from the airplane, 3 from the Black Hawk. So the Army made a statement to Fox News Digital that the UH-60 Black Hawk helicopter carrying 3 soldiers was from Bravo Company 12th Aviation Battalion out of Davidson Army Airfield. They were conducting a training flight. I think that's pretty well. Everybody agrees that's what's happened. It was a training flight. President Trump said Thursday that the deadly midair collision was a confluence of bad decisions that were made, and you have people that violently lost their lives. So I think that's a fair assessment. With that being on Thursday, where you have only a day's worth of information, when probably only 5% of the investigation's been done, I didn't really expect the president to say too much about it until he had more facts. So first responders located the wreckage of both aircraft and are conducting a recovery mission. The fuselage of the American Airlines plane was inverted and located in 3 different locations in the Potomac River. And what they're saying is about waist deep water. So, basically they were waiting on barges to show up with cranes on it to pull, big hunks of this plane out so they could recover the rest of the bodies and start their investigation into that. The National Transportation Safety Board, the NTSB, has recovered critical evidence that could piece together the final moments before the collision. Hopefully, we'll be able to get the full broad spectrum of the story at the end of all this, so we know what needs to be done in the near future. I have my own thoughts on what we could be doing. But in a statement to Fox News, the agency said that the cockpit voice recorder and flight data recorder from American Airlines Flight 5342 have been found by NTSB investigators. So they have that information. Hopefully it's not damaged. They'll be able to pull all of the information they need off of it. The recorders are at the NTSB labs for evaluation. So aboard the airliner, we had there were U.S. and Russian skaters. There were 2 Chinese nationalists, a Howard University professor. There were several other college kids aboard. I believe one was from Ohio. So there was a little bit of a mixture of people on that airliner, but mainly it was some skaters that were competing or training, one of the two. So the Black Hawk crew, we're going to go through them a little bit. So you have Staff Sergeant Ryan Austin O'Hara. He was from Lilburn, Georgia. He's 28 years old. So Lilburn, Georgia, from where I'm at, is actually the very next little section of Metro Atlanta from where I work. So it's very, very, very close. It takes me 5 minutes to get to Lilburn. So we're pretty heartbroken here in Georgia that we had to lose one of our own. Losing any of these lives is horrific, but having one that's close to home is even worse. We also have Chief Warrant Officer Andrew Lloyd Eves. He was from Great Mills, Maryland. He was 39 years old. And then Captain Rebecca M. Lobach from Loback. I don't know how to pronounce it, but she was from Durham, North Carolina. She was also 28 years old. So the initial reports were that she could have been a DEI hire, or at least the liberals were running around saying, "Oh, I bet she was a DEI hire, huh?" But the fact of the matter is, I looked into her military background. She's very well trained. She's a captain. So I think that her military record kind of speaks for itself, that she was not a DEI hire. She was in fact a very skilled officer in our military. So that's basically the gist of things that we're also that everyone's kind of still looking at, is how many DEI hires were there. Now that these reports are coming out, we know that the FAA has a lot of issues amongst their ranks. They're short-staffed. They turned away over 3,000 applicants because they were not qualified as DEI hires. So we're finding out a lot of this data that's coming out because they know that Sean Duffy, the transportation secretary, is going to go through that agency with a fine-tooth comb. He was just on the news a little bit ago talking about, or he was on CNN talking about how the shortages in staff are from the DEI hire standards. That everybody stopped hiring regular skilled people because they wanted to fulfill all the DEI. Which, to be clear, I don't think anybody in America's minority should be classified as a DEI hire. Obviously, there are people out there of all ethnicities, races, and backgrounds that are highly skilled at what they do. They're professional people. So I do think that having that classification out there will make people who do earn their way in, like if it's a Black person, they could go in and people are automatically going to assume they're a DEI hire, when in fact their skill level is that or above the people around them. They're highly qualified to do those jobs. So that's the problem that you run into with DEI. It downgrades the highly skilled, no matter what their race is. Hey, there's G-Bro. What's up, man? So that's an issue that you have with DEI, because it creates misconceptions, and people are automatically going to look at people coming in going, "Oh, that's the DEI hire right there." But in fact, somebody with a lot of skill that's in the minority, one of the minority groups, may not, is not a DEI hire. So I think that's a system that we do need to get rid of and make everything merit-based. That way you can look next to the person working next to you and go, yeah, so this person, obviously, if they're working next to me, they're qualified to work here. I think that's something important. I think that's what we miss when we try to, argue what if DEI is good or not. I think that's a way that we need to address that and say, look, if we get rid of it, we'll be able to feel confident that the people around us are skilled to do the jobs. No matter if they're Hispanic, Asian, Black, it doesn't matter. White, who cares? Woman, gay, trans, it doesn't matter. As long as they meet the criteria of a high standard bar for the job, then you don't need a DEI. You don't need DEIs. So the FAA has issued several statements. They said it's our system that is bad, and that's what has to be looked at. To be honest with you, we need to make a bulldozer to the front of the FAA. We need to take a bulldozer to the front of the FAA. This is bad management, and it's putting us at risk. So that was not the FAA statement. That was from the Boyd Group International president, Mike Boyd. So he's looking at it, and he's saying the whole system's bad. It needs redone. We got to do something about this. He also went on to say this is a problem we have with air traffic control. Mr. Duffy has to do something about this. We messed around with air traffic control for 30 years. Now we have deaths in the Potomac because of it. So this is a wake-up call for the new administration, which means fix the FAA and fix it soon before more people die. I agree. We have 2 flying machines run into each other over the Potomac. That is the FAA's job to avoid those things, he argued. We have all kinds of human issues here, but the fact is we've had near miss after near miss for the past 20 years. Now we have a collision. The collision is the responsibility of the FAA and the air traffic control system. Somebody failed. So I think you can look at this as on both sides. I think both sides failed in this circumstance because when we look at the actual footage, and we have very, very good footage of this out there right now, you can clearly see where the Black Hawk is elevating into the plane. I'm not sure, and I'm not in the plane, so I can't play, backseat driver. But I see that I don't understand how they miss not seeing this big giant plane coming. I'm struggling with that. So I think we still have some questions and some answers that need to be had when it comes to what actually happened inside the Black Hawk. Now the plane is basically acting upon the radar and the flight control deck. So that's an issue. From what I have been seeing is there was basically one guy up in the tower, and he's trying to coordinate multiple helicopters and several plane runways. That's too much for one person. So why is the FAA so understaffed? Well, Sean Duffy was saying the DEI policy that Biden put in place was turning away qualified candidates, and they were only taking in DEI hires. So that's an issue, and we need to get that fixed. We can't have airplanes running into each other. I'm not getting on an airplane. I like flying, but I'm not getting on an airplane right now. Period. I'm not. And on top of that, then several days later, we have the Philadelphia Learjet crash. So we're going to talk about that next. So the Learjet in Philadelphia was a medical ambulance plane transporting a young girl who had just received a life-saving treatment, and it crashed on a street Friday near the Roosevelt Mall in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So that we have clear video footage of that as well. And to me, it almost looks like a missile, like coming straight down. I mean, it takes a real steep angle at the street. So if you don't know what you're looking at, you're going, wow, man, I think we just got a missile shot at us. But it was in fact an airplane. So when we look at the crew of this flight, it was a very experienced crew. The Global Ambulance Flight Company operating the plane said its Learjet 55 crashed while departing from Northeast Philadelphia Airport at about 6:30 p.m. The company said there were 4 crew members and 2 passengers on the plane at the time: a pilot, co-pilot, a physician, a paramedic, pediatric patient, and her mother. They were all Mexican nationals, which isn't really that relevant. Plane crash is a plane crash, no matter who's on the airplane. The plane was scheduled to fly from Philadelphia to Tijuana International Airport with one technical stop in Springfield, Missouri for fuel. So that looked like it was starting off to happen until the plane quickly went down. There was a very seasoned pilot and a very seasoned co-pilot. They know the job and they do it. They've done it many times. They fly 600 to 700 missions a year. They're very busy, very active, and the company says they keep a top-notch staff. So that was from the one of the spokesman for the company. So I mean, it does sound like they're way more seasoned than the Black Hawk crew. And so there's an issue, with that as well. Like, what happened? Did they have a mechanical failure? Did something malfunction? They're still going through the communications with the towers. There was some questionable things said that it's not clear as to exactly what it said, but I know what I heard. But you tend to hear things when you want to hear them. So I'm going to wait for something official to come out on that. And I pray for all these families and all the people involved in all these plane crashes. These are just the two that happened. I think there's 4 plane crashes in the last 3 days, which is insane. It's insane. We got to get something fixed with that. So one of my favorite topics of the day, we're going to talk about FBI agents due to get fired this week. So what they're doing is they're looking at about 8 top FBI officials are going to get fired this week. And more of those officials, there will be more of them that have worked underneath those 8. Mainly, they're looking at the ones that have ties to J6 investigation and anything that has to do with some of the Hamas stuff so far. The exact number has not been disclosed, but the ultimatum was allegedly given to senior employees promoted under former FBI Director Christopher Wray. I wish Christopher Wray would have held out, because I would love to watch Kash Patel Donald Trump fire him. I would love to see Donald Trump fire Christopher Wray. That would have been the greatest day ever. Trump is speaking right now about the trade wars. So when we look at the FBI and these, there's a lot of, liberals out there freaking out about this too. Everything Trump does, they freak out about. But one thing I want to remind everybody of is when Trump ran his first election that he beat Hillary Clinton, he mapped out what he was going to do. He said, I'm going to do this, 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 and this. And when he got elected, he started checking things off. I did this. I did this. I did this. He fulfilled all of his campaign promises. Well, probably 90% of them. I think he was going to finish up in the second term, but that didn't happen. Obviously, Joe Biden became president. Now, Donald Trump was very, very clear on his campaign promises this time around as well. So they act like, whoa, this is horrible. Our country's falling apart. Listen, we gave you guys a year and a year head start on this. Donald Trump said he was going to do all these things. And guess what? He's doing it. Guess what? He has a mandate because of these plans. So for you to get on every social media platform that you can think of and start whining and complaining, the mandate of this election certifies that Donald Trump has the ability, within law's reason, but most of these things you don't need laws, you just need executive orders, to go down through this checklist of stuff that he promised us, that we voted for him for, to get them done. And he's going down through this list and he's getting them done. One of those things was firing FBI agents, because that agency has gone rogue, mainly the top echelon FBI people. So Donald Trump is doing exactly what I would do if I was in that position. I would go down and go, let's see, who all has agreed with Christopher Wray on some of these illegal tactics that have been going on? You, and you. Fired. Get out of here. Because you can't have compromised people in here. And the liberals are like, oh, he's going to put his people in there for his agenda. Duh. Are you going to go put a bunch of liberals in your cabinet and in your agencies? No. You're going to put the people in there that are going to help you execute your plan. And the plan is to make the FBI partisan again. There's not going to be a bipartisanship in the FBI. It's going to be partisan. And when I say partisan, I don't mean one political party or the other. I mean to the American people. They're going to be partisan to the welfare of the American people, period. That's it. And so that is something that I'm excited to see. We're going to take the politics out of the FBI. Kash Patel is going to come in here and say the law is the law. We have a responsibility to the American people to keep this country safe and to keep these investigations going on people who break the law, period. That's how easy it is. Every cop does this, or they're supposed to. So this is a simple policy. And for the FBI to do what they've done the last 4 years or plus is a travesty to this country. So I'm all for it. I can't wait to have this agency gain its respect back through Kash Patel. It's going to happen, and I'm excited about it. And I would really, really like to see, that balance get back in our government agencies. With all the stuff Trump has let out with the CIA is getting thrown under the bus too. They've got all these corrupt things they've been doing. They have direct ties now that we know to the Kennedy assassination. There's all of these things that the CIA has had their hands in that they're not supposed to. This isn't a domestic, op crew to go, set up Americans, set up politicians. That's not what the CIA is here for. They're here to collect intelligence and to prevent disasters or to hold people accountable, mainly in the international stage of disasters. They're supposed to catch bad guys, not set up and have people taken out for their own oppositional goals. That's wrong. And the CIA, I think everybody can just about agree, the CIA has been rogue for a very, very long time, way longer than the FBI. We're looking probably 30, 40 years. The CIA has been, there's been basically no oversight of the CIA. They don't answer any questions. They don't even get brought to the table very much to get questions asked to them. And that's something I'd like to see change too, because my taxpayer money pays for the CIA. So when I have questions about what they're doing, I want them in front of an oversight board and I want them answering questions. I don't want them to do what the Biden administration did for the last 4 years and say, I don't know anything about that. Oh, I don't know the specifics of that. I'm not real sure what you're talking about. Or it is a privilege and honor to serve President Biden in this magnitude, blah, blah, blah. All the stupid circle around answers that they gave us for 4 years. I don't want that. I don't want it at all. These guys have to answer our questions, period. They have one job: answer American questions. Take care of Americans and answer our questions when we question you. So there you go. And if you're a liberal and you don't like it, well, this is how our system is supposed to work. And we've gotten so far away from that, and the corruption has dug its dirty claws so deep into our country that we don't recognize what our government agencies are supposed to do anymore. Donald Trump understands that. His cabinet members coming in understand that we have to bring the honesty back to the government because nobody trusts the government. Now you have the left is going, oh, the government's so corrupt. Well, before that, the right, oh, the government's so corrupt. Okay, well, we can all agree that the government's corrupt. So why don't you just let Donald Trump fix it? I know you don't trust him, but just let this play out, because what was happening before, it's not working. It's not working at all. So let's just see what happens. I have confidence that that President Trump is going to have a way more balanced federal agencies across the board. Yeah, there's going to be some hiccups along the way, but I think that President Trump, so far, you're seeing him answer every question. You're seeing his cabinet people, Hegseth, Duffy, they're up there answering questions. So I feel good about that. We've seen Ratcliffe on TV several times now. These guys are coming out and they're talking and they're giving us information. And we haven't had that in 4 years. We've had dodging questions. So, they'll just refer, oh, you need to talk to the Justice Department about that. We don't know. Well, yeah, you do know. You just don't want to, implicate anybody. They spend all their time, hiding the money influencers of the Democrat Party. So there's that. That's my analysis on the FBI and some of the government functions that I would like to see improve. I think we've got some good people in place to start making some progress there. But like I said, we need it to be partisan towards the American people. That's the only people that the FBI should be thinking about when they do these cases. Is this good for the American people? Now, I'm going to add in there because there seems to be a pass for the mid-level FBI agents and any government agent for that matter. There seems to be a pass that they're giving mid-level agents and the bottom-level agents. Now, they're saying, well, they're just following orders. I heard it again today through one of the pundits on TV. I don't remember who it was. They're like, oh, these guys are just following orders. No, that is not true. That is not the case. That may be true, but it's not. That's not how it works. So when you go in to a federal agency and you are hired in, you are to be sworn in. You are to take your oath to the country. So just because Peter Strzok sends you a memo and says, hey, we are going to sabotage Donald Trump, it's not your duty to go rank and file on that. That is treason. That's treason against a sitting United States president. If you follow those orders, you are in that category. You put yourself in the treason category because now you're complicit. And your obligation is to report any orders given to you that violate your oath. Your oath supersedes any ranking officer that you have. Now, I'm not saying that everybody in the federal government needs to be a bunch of degenerates. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying, hey, don't listen to nothing nobody says because you're so scared of, doing the wrong thing. No, you should follow your commanders. However, when you know something jumps out at you as a giant red flag and you're going, whoa, you're asking me to sabotage a sitting president, or you're asking me to spy on American people that are just going to school board meetings, that is a problem. And if you agree to those, you're violating your oath. If you cannot uphold your oath to the United States people, don't join the federal government. It's not for you. Now, I'm going to get probably a little bit of kickback on that because everybody wants to feel bad for the low-level guys. There's probably thousands of great government agents at the mid-level to low-level ranks. I'm not pointing a finger at every single one of you, but what I'm saying is moving forward in the future, you'll get this pass. You're going to get a pass right now. But moving forward in the future, if you can't uphold your oath to the American people, you need to resign and you need to walk away from the federal government because that you're not here to just be a robot and follow orders. You're here to protect the American people from enemies, foreign and domestic. And at some point, you're going to have to decide, is this a domestic enemy? So there's that. Now, let's talk about tariffs because everybody doesn't understand them. So the Trump administration announced on Saturday that it's imposing tariffs through its new International Emergency Economic Powers Act, IEEPA is what they're calling it. So President Trump signed an executive order authorizing the tariffs Saturday, which will go into effect, they're saying, on Tuesday, which will be a 25% additional tariff on imports from Canada and Mexico. But there's also a 10% tariff on imports from China. So that was interesting. I got to look into that a little bit more. So energy resources from Canada will have a lower 10% tariff. So their energy sector is not going to get tariffed 25%. It's only 10%. According to the White House, they made a statement. The Trump administration said the legislation is a response to an extraordinary threat posed by illegal aliens and drugs, including deadly fentanyl, that constitutes a national emergency. I mean, look, when you bury enough people from fentanyl overdoses and heroin overdoses, you're going to feel some type of way about this. I've been in those shoes. I can't even tell you how many of my friends are dead. I'm only, so most of them didn't even make it into their 30s. So this has directly affected me, and I don't like it. I don't like that we're getting pushback from the left when we have Americans dying every single day from the effects of Joe Biden's open border policy. This is it's direct neglect of the American public. It's Joe Biden created almost a genocidal situation. This isn't something that we need here. We don't need all these drugs in here. We don't need the cartels. The cartels can get lost. So the challenge threatens the fabric of our society. This is a threat to our society. The open borders, especially the Mexican border, is a threat to our society. The executive order states that gang members, smugglers, human traffickers, and illicit drugs of all kinds have poured across our borders and into our communities. Now, the Canadians keep throwing up these statistics, or at least the left-wingers. They keep throwing up these statistics saying, look, we don't even really have a lot of border crossings coming down through here. But you're still leaving your border open. Anybody can cross. And you guys have a ton of border that these guys can just walk through the woods and walk into Montana, or walk through the woods and walk into Vermont. Or Maine. This is a problem. It's unmonitored. Canada does not monitor hard enough their border. It's a wide open situation. It's a huge national security threat. And all Donald Trump is asking is that you do more to help secure your border. You don't just let any American in. Hey, there's Sarge. But we don't just let anybody. Canada is very strict on who can come into their country. And as a matter of fact, we are the only country that has the most lax immigration laws. Everybody else has a closed door to immigration. Like, you have strict guidelines to go through. Like, for me to get off of an airplane in several countries, you got to meet this criteria, this criteria, this criteria. You can't just get off of an airplane into another country. They have rules for everything. So we don't have that. We don't have that. We do, but no, we don't enforce it. So that's a situation where we need to, Canada's got to cooperate. They're not cooperating because they're still on that, their parliament and their government is still on that socialism, and they believe the open society garbage that George Soros feeds them every day. And they're not looking and seeing like, hey, that policy failed in America. Look at Europe. That policy is failing in Europe. This whole plan is failing globally. But for some reason, Trudeau's holding on to it for dear life, and it's going to cost this country drastically. Yes, we may see some price hikes in certain things. I'm willing to deal with that. However, as I was talking to one of my old football players that I used to coach, he brought it up too. And I said, look, we'll just go to a different grocery store. We don't have to shop with Canada. We can go shop somewhere else. You want to hurt them? Stop shopping with them, because they're going to sit here and they're going to go, well, they buy a lot of stuff off of us. We do. We purchase a lot of stuff off of Canada. But do we have to? No. We'll go shop at a different store. They act like Canada's the only country that we trade with. We trade with lots of countries. So Canada has played a central role in these challenges, including by failing to devote sufficient attention and resources or meaningfully coordinate with the United States law enforcement partners to effectively stem the tide of illicit drugs. We have drugs coming through the Canadian border as well. Yeah, I think so too, Sarge. I think when Trudeau's gone, it's going to change. But do we have the point is we still have a little ways to go before Trudeau's gone. There's going to be a lot of financial damage get done between now and then. This is something that the Canadians don't have to go through. All Donald Trump is asking is to provide more sources to their borders. Don't just let anybody cross. And they're fighting us tooth and nail over this. It's a stupid thing. And so, for the liberals to get to back this is asinine. We can't just let these things happen. It's a huge issue. It's a huge issue, and I'm done with it. I'm done with it. Canada's got to get in line. They forget that they're. What did I see on Twitter? That Canada needs to remember what their role is. They are the hat of America. That's it. You're just a hat on top of America. So don't forget, with your 2.16 GDP, that isn't really anything. Who the real superpower is here. We don't need you, but you need us. You buy our cars. There's a lot of resources that Canada gets from us. There's a lot of extra products and extra benefits, and we give them foreign aid too. What are they going to do without their foreign aid? I mean, it's not like a huge, massive amount of money, but the population of Canada is not all that great. So any money that we give them is going to have a direct impact on their society. So in a fact sheet released by Trump, the White House said that the tariffs are meant to hold the three countries accountable for their promises of halting illegal immigration and stop poisonous fentanyl and other drugs from flowing into our country. This is not a hard thing to do. The left is fighting this so hard. Canada, Mexico, they're fighting this so hard. And it doesn't have to be done that way. So Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said that he did not want this, but Canada is prepared. Yeah, you did want this. I don't know if you're trying to go out in a blaze of glory or what your problem is, or if you're trying to, I stood up to Donald Trump. Who else does that? Or I'm sorry, I stood up to Donald Trump. Forgot, he's kind of a soy boy. Look, I'm going to tell you something. So when you're in the playground and you're getting bullied all the time, and you're getting beat up every day, and you stand up to your bully one time, but it doesn't work out, you still get mopped. What good is standing up to the bully when you're sitting in ICU and all of your people are going to suffer because you wanted to try to stand up to the bully? Sometimes it's best to just avoid the bully or just cooperate with the bully, because if you stand up to the bully, you're going to get punched in the mouth. It's a fact. And this is the exact same scenario. Canada's about to find out. And they're already worried that their economy is not going to sustain the longevity of these tariffs. And I think they're going to be in for a rough couple years. Even if the tariffs only last 2 months, it's going to affect them for a few years. Now, on the Mexican side of things, I'm done picking on Trudeau. So Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum, sounds very German. How she become president of Mexico? She said that her country categorically rejects the White House's slander against the Mexican government of having alliances with criminal organizations, as well as any intention of intervention in our territory. Okay, you say that, but you still have cartels running around all over the place at border cities. So you can put your statement out there all you want, President Claudia, but we can see inside your country what's happening. You have cartels firing at Border Patrol agents. So nice try, but that's not going to work. Like, get in line, because you're hypothetically a third world country and you heavily depend on us. So you will not sustain your trade at all. And China doesn't have enough money to save Mexico and Canada. But she further went on to state that Mexico not only does not want fentanyl to reach the United States, but anywhere. Therefore, if the United States wants to combat criminal groups that traffic drugs and generate violence, we must work together in an integrated manner, but always under the principles of shared responsibility, mutual trust, collaboration, and above all, respect for sovereignty, which is not negotiable. Okay, bring your military up to the border, and our military is already there. Get the military leaders together, make a plan and say, how do we wipe these guys out and get it done? Boom. We have the cartels will be wiped out in a week if Mexico cooperates with us. If they let us just walk in there and go take care of that business for them, cartels are extinct in a week. They keep posting their little videos like, oh, the Deltas don't have any idea what they're, man, get out of here. But we got drones. You look what we do to other entire countries with just a robot airplane. Get out of here with that. You guys will last. Well, we could end this in 2 days if we want. But I prefer to give you the week-long slow bleed. That's right. My dad said, fuck around and find out. And they're going to find out eventually. Eventually, somebody's going to get killed at the border. An agent, a Marine, somebody's going to get killed at the border, and you're going to see all hell break loose. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. So I went through and I was looking at some of the things that, that we import from Canada, just to see if we can, in fact, shop at a different grocery store. So we do import vegetables, including fresh vegetables, fruits, and grains. Okay, vegetables are grown everywhere. We can get them from somebody else. Flowers. Oh, we don't need Canadian flowers. Minerals, especially oil. We're about to be energy independent. We don't need Canada's oil. Transportation equipment, such as vehicles. You make our vehicles. All we got to do is, when them tariffs go on, those plants are going to leave Canada anyway and come back down here because Trump's offering a 15% corporate tax rate, which is going to blow everybody out of the water. So they'd be stupid to stay in Canada anyway. Wood and wood products like timber, cork, wallpaper. Look, have y'all ever heard of Alaska and Oregon? We mine, or we tree farm down here in Georgia. You drive down to the southern part of Georgia, there's nothing but tree farms. Well, we got trees here. So chemicals, plastics, and leather products. Listen, I'm in the plastics industry as my day job. We don't need Canada. As a matter of fact, my company doesn't do any business in Canada. So we do business with India for the most part. We don't need Canadian plastic. A lot of people don't realize that plastic is made out of oil. So if we control our oil markets and we get energy independent again, like we did in Trump's first 4 years, and the price of oil goes down, it's going to benefit my company. So buying oil off of Canada does not benefit my company. Our profit margins will get much better under Trump's energy plan. What do we import from Mexico? So let's talk about that. Cars, car parts, like I said, same thing with Canada. We are going to bring all those back to America anyway. We don't need that stuff down there. Trump's made it very clear that he is going to try to get all these companies back in the American borders. So we don't need that. Machinery and electrical equipment and components. Well, we don't have smart enough people to make that here. Get out of here. We make that stuff here too. Furniture, we make that stuff here too. Produce, we make that stuff here. Oil and gas, we do that here. Everything that we buy off Canada and Mexico, we don't need. We do it because they're our neighbor and we're trying to help sustain each other's economies. But if these countries are not going to work with us, cut them off. We don't need them. We're self-sufficient. We have everything they have. So there you go. That's my spiel on the tariffs. The tariffs is a good negotiation tactic, and you're going to see both Mexico and Canada cave. I'll be willing to bet within the next 2 weeks at most. Okay, so last thing I want to talk about, I just found this today, so I'm going to throw it out there because it's significant, kind of. So I found an article from a newspaper in Ukraine, the Kiev Independent. They are reporting that Zelensky and Ukraine only received $77 billion of the $177 billion promised to them by the Biden administration. The Biden administration shows that that money was sent. So where did it go? Where did this $100 billion go? Is Zelensky just trying to play the old okey doke, like, oh, we didn't get it, but I got a stack of 100 billion gold bars sitting over here? Or did that money not make it to the Ukraine and it got funneled back into something else? Zelensky is claiming that the private sector took that money. I don't know who to believe. It was like it's like having crooks doing business with other crooks. So they're probably all in on stealing it. My cats want to wrestle today, apparently. But there's something fishy going on there, and I think some oversight and an investigation and an audit into that money is well overdue. There's a reason why the liberals keep going on record saying, we don't need to do that, we don't need to do that, we don't want to do that, it's a waste of money. No, there's something fishy going on there, and y'all are probably in on it. Just saying, we don't trust none of you. You guys' approval rate's like 14% right now. So don't try to tell me what America wants, because y'all don't listen to us. But that is our show for the day. I covered a lot of stuff, and hopefully it gives you guys something to think about and to look into the future. I'll be back on Wednesday, and we'll see where some of these topics progress. I see a lot of progression that's going to happen. Every day Trump throws something else out there. These Democrats are running around like chickens with their heads cut off. They don't know what to do. But everybody be safe out there. Don't fly on any airplanes for a while. But I'm out. Peace.